What's up, yo?
How you guys doing?
Welcome back to
SumYungGuys podcast.
This is Carlos.
And this is Lee Mac.
Glad to have you guys back.
Of course, as always. Yeah, how was your week?
It was pretty good, man. Got to work, got some days off, got to kind of like refresh my mind, kind of focus on the gym, getting a little stronger, which I really, really love. I'm trying to get big.
Yeah, same, man. Same. I'm just, trying to get to 200 at some point this year. It's not my main goal. I'm just really trying to focus on making sure I eat enough, finally. Because when I first started working out, I didn't track calories. I just ate as much as possible all the time. And it helped. I gained 30 pounds-ish, 25 to 30 pounds in like 6 months.
Oh, nice.
But that was also beginner gains and stuff like that because I was working out 5 times a week for 2 hours a day.
That's wild.
That's how it was when I first started. After that was while I was still in SAC. I moved up here and dropped down to 3 days a week instead of 5 and just kind of maintained. But also, of course, as a result, kind of just maintained and didn't grow very much. This year, I'm more focused on money, like I've said in the past couple of episodes. But at the same time, want to focus on making sure I still eat as much as I should, build the foundations of tracking calories, knowing how much I'm eating, so that when it's time to focus on that, I'll already have kind of like a method to the madness figured out, and I'll be able to do it that much more effectively. Nice. But yeah, this week also pretty relaxed for the most part as far as even work goes. Actually, I say it was relaxed, but I set steel in a blizzard last week.
That's insane. Oh, yeah. How was that? How was working in those conditions?
Dude, it's the kind of thing where you look back after it's done and you're like, yeah, I can tell my kids that I, worked in a blizzard.
I was a man.
In a crane. Like, there's a crane setting beams and columns that all of them weigh multiple hundreds of pounds. Like, I think the lightest column we set was probably 300-400 pounds. And
Damn.
The heaviest upwards of 1,000, couple like 1,500 pounds, if not a couple thousand actually. But anyways, it's really fun. Honestly, I can look back and like eventually I can tell my kids, I set steel in a blizzard in Tahoe.
Sounds badass.
At a billionaire's house, who I will not name, but if I named him, you would know who he is. You already know. I'm pretty sure I told you.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah. But we'll keep that confidential for now because NDAs and stuff like that. But yeah, so it was a good experience. I'm looking forward to eventually being able to tell my kids those types of stories, just because like it's the kind of thing where your parents were always like, I walked uphill both ways in the snow, blah blah blah, and I'm like, yeah, well, I actually got electrocuted sitting on a beam because I was welding in the snow.
Jesus Christ.
True story.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like, I don't know, it just feels like there aren't that many men that are willing to do hard shit to make some money.
Suck, for
sure. Embrace the suck. That's kind of the mentality that I take with it. Otherwise, I'm just going to hate my life. That's the other alternative. Like, I'll just be like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, I could go at it with the mentality of embrace the suck or this sucks. And I'd rather just embrace the suck. And, I'm building a foundation. I have a plan in mind to get myself out of the suck so that I can make a lot more money while doing a lot less difficult shit.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's it's something to embrace for sure. I think you should embrace anything that makes you stronger or makes you a better person or progress into something a lot better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you have a goal and everything just sucks to get to that goal, but you finally achieve it, it's just it's gonna develop you as a character. It's gonna build a stronger character for sure.
Yeah.
Because if you just like diamonds, they have pressure. In order to become a beautiful diamond, you gotta go to some pressure. You can't just be like, oh well, someone will provide it for me. You can't just go through life like that. No way.
And like even better than diamonds, because diamonds are formed through heat and pressure, but the only reason we value them is because some companies decided that they should be valuable and wanted to make a monopoly on it. A better analogy, in my opinion, is steel, a sword.
That too, yeah.
Because a sword, a really good sword, is forged in fire and then pounded with a hammer and ground on a grindstone for hours. I think the original Japanese way of making a sword they stay up for 36 hours straight making one sword.
Damn.
And they're some of the most valued swords in all of human history.
Would it be the samurai sword?
Mm-hmm.
That's
The
wild.
katana.
Wow.
A traditional Japanese katana, I want to say it was like either 36 hours or 3 days. The number 3 is in there somewhere. But yeah, it's a grueling process, and the steel goes through a lot of torture, essentially, to make it into what it is known as. And that's like one of the most beautiful designed weapons in all of human history.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I think that's what creates a great, leader type of person. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like people that really go through the struggle and understand what it is to be able to lead a group into success.
Absolutely.
If they truly know themselves, and I believe everyone has a leader mentality embedded in them. I mean, our Lord Christ, he was a leader.
Absolutely.
So I do believe that everyone in this world has the potential to become a great successful leader. There's a couple points that you need to hit, obviously, or learn or go through to be able to recognize and understand and be a prospering leader, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to you guys, those people coming up from you're in school, and you feel like you're too just like fragile, or you don't have it in you to become a leader, and like you don't have a purpose. Believe me, you do. Everyone in this life has a purpose. And I think it takes a lot of self-reflection and a lot of I mean a lot of understanding and like learning what fires you up, not what other people believe that you should become, not what other people tell you that you should do. It takes a lot of character development and building. You got to go through some struggle to understand who you really are and what you really are. I don't know if that's something you can agree with, Lee Mac.
No, absolutely. So there are a couple of things off of that. There's this. I heard one quote as far as like how to figure out what you want to do with your life and what you should, for you, what you personally feel that you should do, not what other people think that you should do. Because I actually have a great quote on that idea of what other people think you should do. Your vision for my future is not my concern. Don't worry about, like, this is that you can say this to your parents, you could say this to your teachers, your friends, whoever it is, but someone else's vision for your future should not be your concern. Your concern should be what you want for your future. And, in some cases, hopefully, your vision for your future lines up with what your parents might want for you, what your friends might want for you. But at the same time, more often than not, it's not going to line up. And so you have to have the conviction, the backbone, the strength to be honest. You can be polite. You don't have to be as abrasive as that saying might come out. But just like let people, if people are telling you what they think you should do, if it doesn't line up with what you want to do, if it's not a good course of action for the accomplishment of the goals that you have for yourself, then be honest about that. Say, okay, that's a good idea, but it doesn't help me get to this goal that I have in mind for myself. What advice do you have for me to get me there? Because the advice you're giving me is taking me away from that goal.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think like should is like, let go of the shoulds. It's one of the most dangerous things in our dialogue. Stop living it to like other people's expectations. What is it that you truly want? You stop trying to look good for others. Stop trying to get it perfect for others, and start looking. Start just doing it the way that you think is great, and that will allow you to reflect back on what you did and be like, okay, so I did it this way. I liked it, but you know what? I need to tweak it a little bit and become better at this, or maybe I should actually get into this because it's going to help me benefit what I really want to do, and it's all part of your own plan. I know there is some advice that your parents give you that are great, and that's true. That there's some that are great, and it's not them telling you that you should do it, but it's like kind of giving you like a little step up of what they wish they would have taken advantage of. You know, let's say that your parents tell you like, hey, maybe you should get into some trade school, and you don't want to. You want to follow your own lifestyle in the college or something, and become, I don't know, whatever you want to do, or study in college or live the college experience. 5, 6 years down the road, you're like, shit. You see everyone else that did that trade school, and like they're up ahead in some way. They have a secure job, they have a good pay. They didn't spend all these money on education or loans, and then they have some baseline. You know what I'm saying? And some advice I say that you should take, and there's some other advice that you should kind of look at it a little bit deeper, and then be like, I don't think that would benefit me in any good way.
Yeah.
But you know, that's just something I believe that's true. Sometimes they tell you something that is actually really good, and then there's other things that tell you that isn't so good. You know, if it's going to benefit your life, you know, you have your own brain. You're pretty smart to make choices and decide if it's a good thing or not. Sometimes you hear advice and you're like, why would anyone do that? Those are advices that I wouldn't take. If you believe in your heart that's not a good advice, don't take it. If you have doubts about yes or no, research it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nowadays we have Google, so like go deep into research. That's a big thing.
Yeah. So like a good way to, I guess, delineate between what's good advice and what's bad advice would be like just stuff that's obvious, like people telling you, oh, you should, do a bunch of drugs to find yourself, do a bunch of psychedelics. That's probably not good advice. But if someone's saying you should learn a trade because it'll teach you discipline, it'll teach you hard work, it'll teach you all these different things. Yeah, it's dangerous at times depending on the trade, but you'll learn how to do some things and work with your hands and have some useful skills. Maybe that has nothing to do with what you want to do with your life. Maybe you want to be in computer science and you don't need to learn a trade whatsoever. But all of those other things about working in the trades, hard work, discipline, diligence, all of these different attention to detail, that type of stuff is actually very useful. Learning how to work with your hands, all of those things, you learn a lot of really good life skills in a manual labor trade like construction, carpentry, whatever branch of construction you might want to go into, plumbing, electrical, welding, whatever it is. You learn a lot of skills. So that might be something that is one of those things, like he was saying, that you take that advice, you do some research on it, you take it with a grain of salt, and maybe you do it, maybe you don't, but at least you understand that that's something, that's a source of information from the toolkit that you might want to eventually explore. And you can learn a trade pretty much at any time.
Yeah.
You might have to take a pay cut depending on what it is, or while you're learning the thing that you really want to do, that's when you go and do carpentry or welding or plumbing or whatever. Welding's a little harder to get into without education prior, but carpentry, concrete, like I said, plumbing, electrical, you need some education. Those are some things that you could definitely get into relatively easily with very little experience and then learn along the way. And I mean, guys need helpers all the time. So,
and also it's like it's a good skill to have. Like
yeah.
you're never gonna be like looked down upon if you don't know how to, like if you know how to weld or if you know how to set down concrete. Like that's never gonna be like a bad thing. Like I think that's always gonna be a good thing. So learn how to like take your time and learn things, but don't waste your time. When I always say waste your time is like you're wasting your time as in like with things that don't matter, or
Going to the bar, going to the club,
like living in the moment with people that, you know, like, oh, you need to have social life. Of course you need a social life, but you got to know your limits too, because you don't want to just live socially and then waste your whole like strongest years of your life, which is like youth. And then you get to this age where you're just like, shit.
Yeah.
I mean, just because I see it, there's times where it's like this. I was talking to this lady this one time at a bus stop. And then it was so funny how I sparked up conversations randomly, like random people. Probably helped because she was Hispanic and she spoke to me in Spanish. She's like, oh yeah, like, like when I was young, I used to like go out drinking, party, this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Turns out she was like a housekeeper. And then she's like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I'm studying to become this and that. I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool. I really wish I would have gotten into that. I really wish, And it's like, I felt so bad. I'm like, I mean, maybe you can still do something, like I didn't tell her that, but I'm like, whatever purpose you have, or if you're a mother now, the best thing you can do, I wasn't going to tell her what to do, um, but the best thing that she probably knows now is to have her children become something that she thought that would have been better for herself and her future. Um, that's another point I want to take, talk about, like, take responsibility of what you create and the choices you're making in life. It's really hard. Sometimes you look back and you're like, damn, I really wish I would have done that. Oh man, I really wish I would have done that. You know, if you create something out of the choices you make and they're like good or bad, work with it. Become better if they were bad. If they were good, use it to progress your life, You can always learn from your past, for sure. You can either progress or stay stagnant, where you're just going to die there. And even there's a verse in the Bible that says, take a screenshot of it because I thought it was amazing. It says, but the Lord says, do not cling to events of the past or dwell on what happened long ago. Watch for the new things I am going to do. It is happening already. You can see it now. I will make a road through the wilderness and give you streams of water there. Meaning that's Isaiah 43, 18 through 19. But
That's good. I like that one.
It's like, I think it's a season for sure for anyone that's listening to be like, okay, you know what? I messed up. Or, okay, I did work and it was good, but I feel like I can do better. One of those two, whatever you fit in that category. And I think it's time for you to, especially to 2024, I feel like a lot of people are starting to wake up and notice that, okay, I learned a lot through all these years, especially from like the 2020 through like 2023 and then coming to 2024. I think it's like a year of awakening for sure.
Yeah, there was a lot of awakening that happened because of COVID. And I think today, not today specifically, but like in today's day in 2024, I think a lot more people are at the point where if they're not awake and aware of everything that's going on, I don't know how much faith I have in their ability to wake up. I think that this election cycle this coming year is going to be very interesting. I think they're going to be pulling a lot of shenanigans to either get Trump from being able to run, to also to get Biden out of the election, to do all kinds of things so that the establishment that's in power can stay in power. Those are my predictions for 2024 as far as like political things go. There's going to be a lot of shenanigans. We don't know what's going on. Just keep your eyes open and keep yourself prepared for any possibilities. But as far as like, determining what you want to do with your future, as we were talking about before, there's this one. So before I said your version or your vision for my future is not my concern, I was going to say this one point that someone else, I saw it on Instagram going through reels. This old guy who was a millionaire at this point had, it was one of those accounts where they're like, what do you do for a living? What advice would you give to someone that's trying to become a millionaire? The guy said that use your 20s to try a bunch of things and see what you're good at. Use your 30s to get really, really good at the things you're best at. And then use your 40s to build businesses and, use your 30s to build the foundation in the things that you're best at and get the experience and make connections and build relationships in business. And then use your 40s to develop those even further. And then by the time you're, at the end of your 40s, hopefully you can retire off of that. You shouldn't use your 20s to go party and have crazy, stupid experiences. You should have experiences. You should enjoy yourself. You should have good relationships with good people, but you should do that with the goal in mind of improving yourself and becoming a better person, becoming someone that can, make great change in the world, good change in the world, because the world needs a lot of good change. And, we're not getting a whole lot of it. Not right this second. There's some people doing good things, but yeah. And then another point I wanted to bring up, there's this concept in Japan called Ikigai. Have you heard of this?
Sounds familiar, but no.
So it's essentially, what you love to do, what you're good at, what you can be paid for, and what the world needs. And so it's a graph. I'll pull this up instead of just showing it on my phone, but it's essentially a Venn diagram with all of those 4 things: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. And then where all 4 of those things overlap, that's your ikigai. That's your reason for being. That's what an ikigai is.
Your niche, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you're going to go through life. Some people don't find their ikigai until they're very old
due to distractions. They spend too much time trying to please others. That's one of the things that the should. That's the should. It's the you pleasing other people so you can fit in. I'm sorry, but if you decide not to fit in with a group and you're just working towards your goal, you're gonna find your group eventually.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's all about leveling up in this life. It's literally the Matrix. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it is. Life is a video game. There was a Andrew Tate video that I saw recently talking about GTA 6 coming out and how how much time people are going to be spending on GTA 6 because of it being the next big game. Too. And would you rather brag about the Ferraris that you have in the game that you spent hours and hours grinding for to get the Ferraris in the game, or would you rather have them in real life? And
yeah,
I mean, I'm not going to knock video games, but GTA probably isn't the best one. And I'm not going to knock you if you're really grinding and that's how you like to relax every now and then. By all means, I was a huge gamer.
That's fine.
I haven't been playing video games in a while because I just don't have time right now. But I do wish that I could play video games more. I just haven't played any recently that are sucking me in like they used to.
There is for sure a time and a place for stuff like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I play video games every once in a while just to like kind of unwind, hang out, and talk with my friends are like across the state.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the only way we actually hang out and communicate, which is funny, which I love. But it's not like something I do actively every day where I wake up and that's all I do. And if that's your job, by all means, cool. If you're
making money from that, get that bread.
We're not making fun of you. We're not complaining. I think that's awesome. If you're making money off of that, sweet. I'm pretty sure they have like other side businesses on the side too because of it.
Yeah.
But just a little recap about the leadership for me. I mean, for here is let go of shoulds. Stop. Listening to people that be like, you should do this, you should do that. You stop trying to please other people. Take responsibility of your own actions. I feel like we always have it's hard to listen to the little voice in your head that says, hey, maybe don't do that. Or, you know what, go for it. It's everyone has that little space of action before they make the reaction. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then get to know yourself too. Like, sit down, like know who you are. I feel like a lot of times nowadays people don't even know who they are. I feel like they're just a collection of other people's ideas,
Yeah. Especially when you're young, for the most part, you are going to be a collection of other people's ideas for the most part. Once you get past your early 20s to even late 20s,
like 25.
After about 25 is when you really start developing your own ideas that are, based on your experiences and the ideas you've gotten from other people and people who've spoken to you, things you've read, things you've studied. All of these different influences kind of begin to culminate and coalesce into this one more solid version of who you are. And that's where you get a lot of the personal development coming from out of your mid-20s, especially as a young man.
Absolutely.
And so developing who you are is extremely important. What I wanted to bring up as far as the leadership goes, you have to be able to lead yourself before you can lead anyone else towards anything. And that can be as simple as, making sure that you get up at the right time, making sure you're making your bed every morning, brushing your teeth every morning and before you go to bed, and flossing and just like doing the little things. Because to some degree, if you're successful to any degree, you are going to be in a position to lead others at some point in your life, most likely. whether it's at work, whether it's at home, you're leading your children, your wife and your children towards a better future in terms of how you save your money, how you guys are planning for a vacation, like whatever it may be, you're going to, as a man, end up in a position of leadership. And even if you're, the head of engineering at a company, you're still, you're a follower to the CEO of a company, but you're still leading the other engineers below you. So being a good leader also involves being a good follower at times too. Knowing who to follow, why you're following them, and what you need to be paying attention to follow appropriately. And that'll help you lead others to do the same for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like God, you follow God.
Exactly.
But he calls you to become a great leader, lead his people.
Exactly.
Like, and then accept yourself, if, once you develop that character, that who you truly are, what makes you, just know that you got to accept yourself, your shadow, your light, whatever it is. Just know that you got to embrace that, embrace the challenges too. If a challenge comes your way, just like at the gym, you're like, oh man, this looks a little heavy. You think I can push it? Challenge yourself. See if you can get 1 or 2 reps in life. See if you can go ahead and step up a little bit. Put yourself in a discomfort zone. That's another thing that's like, that I have on here. It says, let go of limiting beliefs that no longer serve you when you imagine your ideal life or career. Let go of those, way of thinking that try to keep you in a safe zone. I really want to get there, but I feel like this would be a much more safer route, and eventually I'll get there. Like, sometimes you got to take the leap of faith.
Absolutely. As far as, so what I said prior to that was more for those people that are not necessarily certain they want to be leaders, or people that are, they don't want the responsibility of leadership. And that's entirely understandable. It is a big responsibility, but to, like I said, get any degree of success, you're going to have to learn some leadership skills to some degree. Now, for those that are on the opposite side of the spectrum, that know they want to be leaders, that are extremely confident in their ability to lead, in their, almost to a degree of arrogance, I would say, because before the other side of that is timidity, and you're just like scared to lead almost. And then the opposite side would be a little too eager to lead, to the point of arrogance almost. I would say to that level of person, I'd say, trust in the Lord with all thine heart. This is Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. So really that just means seek knowledge from those who've been successful in the thing that you wish to be successful in, and take the advice of those who aren't successful with a grain of salt. But also, like it says, lean not unto thine own understanding. Socrates said, all that I know is that I know nothing. No, that was Plato, I think. Let me double check to make sure I get the quote right. But the most wise people in human history all understand that the more they learn, the more they don't know. The more they're aware of the things that they don't know, is what I meant to say. So, like, the more you learn about space, the more you're going to realize, man, I don't really know anything about space.
I feel that.
The more you learn about medicine, you're like, I don't know as much as I thought I knew about medicine. And so just making sure that you don't get too caught up in what you think you know, because there are a lot of people that, trying to look this up and talk at the same time. It was Socrates. I was right the first time. All that I know is that I know nothing. That was Socrates. Anyways, being too arrogant will lead you down a very dark path in terms of your ability to grow, because, one, people that have the power to give you what you want as far as success goes in the field that you want to be successful in, the people above you, because you're going to start below someone, the people above you will see that arrogance and they won't want to work with you if you are so arrogant that you're unwilling to learn from the people that know. And you want to have, it's like a confident humility Like, you want to be humble, but you want to be confident in what you do know.
Right.
Because if you're just humble and act like you don't know anything, like you're scared to make a decision, then people are just going to think you're a pushover. But if you're so arrogant that you make stupid choices, people are not going to trust your judgment anymore. And they're going to think that you probably won't even listen if they do give you the information. There's a lot of successful people that you might be around that know the answers you seek, but they're very quiet about it because they want to watch and see how you act first. And they might write you off before you even know who they are or what they could give you, just because you decided that you wanted to be, Mr. Know-It-All that day. So that's kind of the lean not unto thine own understanding. That's kind of the message behind that in my eyes.
Yeah, no, and that you can tell there's a lot of pride in that too, which is not good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I think
just to end this, the truth is, I feel like there's a leader, and natural leader in all of us.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot lead naturally if you aren't leading yourself first.
That's the primary step.
Turn your focus to God, for sure, and get to know yourself really well, so that you can control yourself, your path, and your choices that you make when you are in that position of leadership, and it will follow. But that's all I got for today.
I think we're good.
All right.
We're doing a shorter one today. I think we're going to be doing shorter ones from now on because that was a lot more focused and concise. And
yeah, I mean,
well
that was
done.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. All right, guys. It's been SumYungGuys.
Peace.
Peace.